But right here, we're talking about what to do with the phone when nobody's answering, right? So one thing is increase your attempts, and I can tell you most likely you're not calling enough. There could be there might be somebody on this webinar that is calling too much, actually, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about calling too much because most likely you're not calling enough. And we're going to show you actually a structure to how many times you should call towards the end of this presentation, so stick around for that. The other thing that I want to keep you in mind is, and it's written here, it says, don't be a mile wide and an inch deep. And I started thinking about this when I would have cold callers calling on a campaign, and they would be calling a long list of prospects. And they would make like one pass at each prospect, and they would just keep going down the list. And so they would make a lot of calls, a lot of dials to a lot of people, but they were only making one pass, if only two, right? So what they were doing was they were going a mile wide and only an inch deep. And what I realized was that's not good. What you want is you want a tighter focus on less prospects, meaning you'd rather be an inch wide and a mile deep. Actually, it wouldn't be exactly the flip-flop, but you want to be less wide. So and let me give you an exact example. If I'm giving a list of leads to somebody, I would rather give them 50 contacts to prospect to instead of 500 contacts. And I want them to just continue to make pass after pass after pass on that and drill into those 50 contacts. And once you've gone through all those, then I'll give you some more. But you're going to improve your connect rate when you have that tighter focus. So just stay more focused instead of being spread real thin. Try to get the direct dial. A lot of times you might have a main company phone number, right? So if you get a contact's direct dial through internet searching or contact databases or from the gatekeeper, having a direct dial could improve your ability to get the prospect to answer the phone. But you can also try it the exact opposite way. Let's say you have the direct dial and you're calling someone and you can't ever get a hold of them. You might want to try not using the direct dial. Maybe they know your number or they see your company name come up or whatever. And sometimes when you call the switchboard and then you get routed to them, the phone number displays differently on their internal caller ID display. And so it's something to try. Listen, what we're going to give you here today is a lot of different stuff to try. And you can take some of these pieces and apply them and see if they help you. One other thing to try is to try adjusting your call hours. So if you're calling, especially at an executive level, you might want to try to avoid the gatekeeper. And so that can often be early in the morning. So like the gatekeeper often gets in there maybe between 8 and 8:30. So try calling before that, 7 to 8. And believe it or not, executives usually get into the office extremely early, sometimes before that. And so you can get them on the phone. Try 12 to 1, the lunch hour. And that's also a time when the gatekeeper often goes to lunch. And if the phone's being routed, your prospect might answer their phone. And even if they don't do the gatekeeper routing thing, they just might be at their desk eating, not in a meeting. Or try 5 to 6. I'm not saying that only prospect at these hours, but these are some good hours to mix in to your prospecting to try to improve getting a hold of certain people that might be elusive. What I would also say is if you're going to avoid any times of the day, avoid 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. If you've ever had someone schedule a meeting with you, or think about when you've scheduled a meeting with someone else, think about the two times that always pop in your head or get mentioned when someone says, yeah, what time do you want to meet? And the first time that people say is, oh, how about 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock next Tuesday, right? 10 o'clock and 2 are going to be the most likely times that your prospects are in meetings and away from their desk. So if you agree with that, don't call at those times. Then you also want to use something to track the calls that you're making in terms of how many times you've called somebody and when your callback should be made. So use a CRM with callback reminders pretty standard stuff there.